Hello, good day everyone, and welcome to our class. This is TCM 312 Digital Activism, and right at this point, we will now be talking about engaging formats. But before anything else, I would just like to acknowledge that these materials that I will be sharing with you all come from the Radio Nederlands Training Centre. So let's start. During our past lesson, we've talked about story, and a story is basically something that happens to someone that teaches us a particular lesson. So, for example, if JD has learned to check the truthfulness of the information before sharing it to social media, probably because he has learned his lesson when he was reprimanded by somebody after he has shared a fake information, or probably it could be something about like a lady named Jaisal, who has finally opened up herself to her parents after that she has experienced depression just because she doesn't open up herself. But then finally, at the end of the story, she was able to tell her parents what her problem is, and then eventually she got relieved after that she was um, you know uh, she has spoken to her parents. So again, story is something that happens to someone and it teaches us a valuable lesson. Now, a story is an effective tool through which you can convey the message of your campaign. Now, the ways in which a story can be told is what we refer to as the format. And there are various formats that we can use in conveying the message of our campaign. Okay, guys, now when we talk of format, we talk about single formats and wrapper formats. These are the two types of formats that we're talking about. Now, you can see here on your screen that I've included a picture of a primary color. That is to help us understand what single formats are all about. Now, the primary colors include the red, the yellow, and then the blue. And then you can see there that if you will combine yellow and blue, you will produce or you will get green, correct? Now, so the idea of single formats is like that. So if you will combine two single formats together, it will produce a unique format. Now, what about wrapper formats? To help us understand what wrapper formats are, it's just basically like, baking a cake. So if you have ever baked a cake, you know that there are always the same list of basic ingredients. So, some of these basic ingredients include milk, flour, eggs, sugar. And by using more of one of these ingredients and less of the other ingredients, or by adding new ingredients, you get different types of cake. So you can have, chocolate cake or vanilla light or fluffy cake versus, the solid cake with nuts. So wrapper formats are, like cakes. Now, at this point, we will now give specific examples of single formats. So, as you can see on your screen, there are five different types of single formats. So, you have drama, and then you have testimony, and next you have interview, and then what's next? Yeah, you also have discussion. You're correct. And the last type of single format is, yeah, demonstration. You're right. So let us now take up each of those single formats. And first up is something that you and I are very familiar of, because this is very popular in television, in Philippine television. And yes, we're talking about drama. And we would know that we are watching drama because the story is told not by real people, but they're told by actors. So they're just acting, right? So drama is the most consumed formats, I think, especially again for Filipinos, and it uses story to deliver a strong emotion to an audience. Now we discuss about testimony. Testimony is basically when someone tells their personal story or views or opinions about something. When we talk of testimony, we also talk about the phrase vox pop. This is a Latin phrase which means voice of the people, and you do this by stringing all together opinions and views of different people about something. So that's vox pop, or voice of the people. Now, what are testimonies used for? Testimonies, are used to test public opinion, or it could also be to influence decision makers, right? Or like when you want to do a forecast, or when you want to stimulate public debate, or if you want to promote something and make it more popular. So, these are the purposes of giving out testimony. But here's another use or purpose of testimony. You can also make use of testimony if you want to gather personal stories or accounts of an event. So you can see here on your screen that there's this girl who has scars, and her face is bruised. So I think you can guess that this girl has a lot to say on physical abuse, or violence against women. So, yeah, you can use testimony to gather stories of people, real people who have experienced something. Now, if you want to do a testimony type of format for your campaign, you have to think of the kind of questions that you will ask to your interviewee who will be sharing his or her testimony. And your questions for your interviewee for a testimony can either be categorized as statistical questions or opinion questions. Now, as you see here on your screen, statistical questions are basically, close-ended questions. They are answerable by a yes or a no. So, for example, the question here is like, will you vote in the next election? So, that can be answered by a yes or a no. Or if you like, you will ask a question, will a vaccine for COVID-19 be available next year? Or will face to face classes resume next year? So these questions are statistical questions. You can count like how many said yes, how many said no, all right, and then total them. And then you can get a conclusion out of like the answers uh, to the question. Now, if you will also have to ask opinion questions, yeah, you can do so. And opinion questions are open-ended questions. It will let your interviewee, explain something. So, like, if you will ask this question, who would you like to be the next president and why? So that will allow your interviewee to, explain. Or if you would like to ask a question, why do you think young people are not voting? Or the question, how did voting for the first time make you feel? So these are opinion questions. These will, allow your interviewees to explain, and you as the interviewer will be able to elicit or get the opinion of your interviewees. So just a reminder that if you will have to use the testimonial format, you have to strike balance. Now we know that not everyone has the same opinion and matters, but people will always disagree on some things. So just a reminder that when you do present opinions of people, or like when you do count answers of people, then you have to make sure that you will present both sides of the coin. Make it balanced. Do not just collect one side of the story, but you can build tension, which is very important in story, by presenting both sides of the story, or by presenting differing opinions or differing views about something. So, this is just a reminder that, again, if we will have to use testimony as your format, then you have to strike balance in your information.
Pero who was a lawyer, there's really no need for it. Because martial law would burden also the innocent people who are not into you know, the cause for the declaration. Tayo, gusto mo na niya curfew and things like that. I am not up to it actually. The way that I run things now, can you sense a little bit of dictatorship? Ganun ako mag-utos dito. When I say, kita mo magsalita, pati yung money laundering, sabi ko, putang ina kayo dyan, you better behave.
So the next type of format that I'd like to share with you is the interview format. Now, interview is basically structured by the questions the interviewer asks the interviewee. I've included here a photo of Jessica Soho of GMA Network doing an interview with the president, Duterte. And then I've also included a short video clip of an interview by Maria Ressa of a Rappler with, again, the president of the Philippines, Duterte. Now, when you do your interview, you have to know what are you interviewing the interviewee for. So, it's either that you wanted to obtain the interviewee's knowledge about the topic, or also it could be that you wanted to obtain the interviewee's opinion and or feelings about the topic, or simply you just wanted to feature the interviewee as the subject. Now, another very popular format is discussion. Discussion is simply, a group of people expressing opinions or arguing on something. A discussion does not necessarily have to include experts or community leaders. However, it is good that you have a source of information. When it comes to holding lots of information, discussion is a format that you have to choose. And the last of the single formats is demonstration. I think you guys can recognize that guy at the bottom of your screen. Yeah, you know that this is the famous Chef Boy logo. So just like what Chef Boy does now in his cooking show, he shows us the process or the step-by-step process of cooking something, right? So that's a demonstration for you. Now we're halfway through our discussion in engaging formats. After that, we have discussed the single formats. We're going to go now into the wrapper formats. And as you can see on your screen, we've got a number of wrapper formats. You have magazine, you have the report, You have the montage, and you have what we call the actuality, and you also have game. So again, wrapper formats are like cakes. They are like cakes in a sense that, the basic ingredients are the same, but then you get to have a different cake by having more of one of the single format and less of the other single formats. Okay, so I hope that you got that. Now, first up among the wrapper formats is the magazine format. Kapuso Mo Jessica Soho is an example of a magazine format. Jessica Soho herself is the host or the presenter of the show. And as the presenter, she links all together the items of a particular KMJS episode. So usually, KMJS has a theme, right? Or a general topic that they talk about. And it's evident in the items that are included in a particular episode. So the themes or general topics can, either be about lifestyle or about, current affairs or about fashion or about music or about science or women's issues or whatever. So now we move on to the next wrapper format, and this is the report. Now, the report is similar to the magazine format earlier in a sense that, these two have reporters, or like you can hear voices of reporters, saying something about, a particular uh, topic. But then the report is different from magazine in a sense that the report is not themed, but the report just talks about one subject, just like what you see here on your screen. A documentary is a report format. This one is a documentary by Rafi Tima, and it talks about one subject. It talks about the rain. Now, honestly, I haven't seen this documentary, but then I guess that um, this documentary talks about the subject rain and how significant and important it is for probably that kid that you are seeing there, right? Now, because the report is a wrapper format, the report, can also have single formats included in it. So, in a documentary such as, that, you can have interviews, you can have testimonies, or you can even have discussion, because again, wrapper formats are, like a combination of the single formats that we have discussed earlier. So guys, next we have montage. Now, montage is similar to report in a sense that, montage also explores one subject, but then it's different from report in a sense that montage doesn't have a voice of a reporter. So it just relies on, for example, photos, just like what you see now on your screen. So you have there three photos of a polar bear, and the issue here is on climate change. And because of climate change, we have seen like how these negatively affected creatures such as polar bears in the North Pole, right? So again, montage. It relies on editing or sequencing photos such as that to tell a particular story. Now, it doesn't just make use of footages or photos, but it can also use quotes or sound clips. And then again, you put this all together to tell a wonderful story. So that's montage. Now, the next wrapper format is what we call actuality. Now, actuality simply means that something is happening live. It is being broadcasted in an unedited way. So you see that as it unfolds. So that's live. Now, the problem with this is that it can be very thrilling to watch because it's live, but then on the other hand, it can also be boring because what if nothing nothing exciting happens. So there's no really way to control the tension when you do live, or like when you cover something that is unfolding. So actuality, we almost always see this in sports, or like if there is a breaking news, then reporters go live. Now on social media such as Facebook, they also have like this feature, live, like we call that in a Facebook live. And again, because actuality is a wrapper format, then it can be applied to other single formats. So you can have live interviews, or like you can have live testimonials, or live games. So that's actuality for you. Now, the last among the wrapper formats is the game. And when we talk about game, we talk about rules. The elements of the story in this game format are structured by the rules of the game. Sometimes the story is good and engaging depending on the stakes of the rules. In Philippine television, we have had a lot of game shows such as Singing Bee or Game Ka Na Ba or Deal or No Deal. Now, other than game shows on Philippine TV, we also have reality TV shows. And most often, these are games where the contestants are given challenges or are made to do something in order to create emotion. Pinoy Big Brother, right? That's a reality TV show, and that's a game. So the game is a wrapper format because as it often uses other formats in it in order to tell a story. So for example, in sports, there are often voiceovers of people telling us what is happening, or they're commenting on the game. Now, this is report, right? So in reality TV shows as well, there are testimonials. And remember, testimonials is an example of a single format. Or also in reality TV shows, there are interviews that aid in the understanding or excitement of the game. So again, game is a wrapper format, and as a wrapper format, it can be composed of several single formats, or even other wrapper formats. So to end, we will now go through each of the formats that we have discussed earlier and see for ourselves whether this particular format is good at holding information or facts or logic, or whether it's good at holding emotion or feeling. So, as campaigners, this should guide us in deciding which format to choose depending on our objective or goal. So if you wanted to convey more facts, then there are certain formats that are good for that one. Or if you wanted to convey more emotions or feelings, then there are specific formats that are good at that. Now let's go through each of this. Now for drama, it's good at holding emotion or feelings, and it's less good in holding information or facts or logic. Now, for testimony, it's good for holding emotion or feelings, just like drama, and it's less in facts or logic. Now, interview is both. It's good in holding information, facts, or logic, and it can also be good, to use this in holding emotion and feelings. And the same as discussion, it can be both. So, discussion is good at holding facts or logic, and it's also good at holding emotion and feelings. Now, game, yeah, it's like drama or testimony. So game is only good at holding emotion and feelings. It's not good in holding facts or logic. Now, what about demonstration? So as you can see here, demonstration is good at holding facts or logic, and it's not good at holding emotion or feelings. Now, what about magazine? So magazine is not good at holding emotion. It's not good also in holding facts or logic. So what about report? Report is good at both. Montage, it's the same with drama. And actuality, actuality is good at holding emotion, but it's not good at holding information or facts or logic. Now, to end, the challenge is for you guys to be creative with the formats. All right. So, to give you an idea of how you can be creative, let me share with you Leonardo da Vinci and his ideas box. Now, once Leonardo was accused of, reusing or like using again and again and again faces of people that he painted, but then it was just used in different works. So he was accused of that, of recycling the faces that he paint. But then, to avoid that accusation, he made sure that he would break the patterns that he had created. So that's why he invented the ideas box. Now, the box listed simple features of the face. So you have there the mouth, the eyes, the head, and then other features. And once that he had the features, he included descriptive words underneath each of the features, variations of the kinds one may find. And so the result, it's called the grotesque faces, which is a collection of unusual faces that were unique to Da Vinci. Now, applied to our formats for your campaign, uh, the point here is that you just really have to be creative by combining variations of formats so that you can come up with a very very engaging format, because that, after all, that's what we wanted, to engage our audience, particularly our target audience.